Bubby asked who gets their first sack of the season Saturday night. Daniel lists the entire defense.
Hey, I'm with Daniel. I'll take all.
Bring them all. You ever play Madden? And you just blitz everybody? Blitz them. Let them go.
I hope 7 Georgia players get their first sack on the season.
I hope 7 players have to split a sack on the stat sheet. That's what I want. I want 7 players back there blowing up a helmet, and the stat dudes are over there trying to figure out divide these fractions, like what fraction of a sack these dudes are going to get. That's what I want.
Welcome into the Dawg Dispatch. I have been waiting on this episode for almost a year. Some of you have been waiting on this episode for almost a year. Maybe not on this podcast, maybe on another podcast called Brothers Know Best that we may or may not bring back. But I am here with my 2 brothers, M-Dubs, Dawgs_forever, Michael, Daniel. Welcome in, fellas. How are we doing?
Let's see if I can knock the rust off. It's been a minute since the podcast with you 2 idiots, but it's gonna be fun.
Let me tell you something.
Exactly what I was gonna say. That's so weird.
Let me tell you something. Y'all been hanging out with the other 2 idiots for a long time. You ain't got to knock off any rust when these 3 get together. You know how to handle. I know how to handle you 2 idiots, so I guarantee you know how to handle the other 2 idiots. So whoever the idiots are. All right, y'all, we are going to talk Georgia today. Before we get into that, I do want to bring up one thing that has been really weighing on my mind. I was told that I wasn't allowed to go to a Georgia-Alabama game again, and I went to a Georgia-Alabama game again, and Georgia lost. So what is my penance from my brothers for going to that stupid game and watching Georgia lose to Alabama again?
I swear I had not made that connection for the past 2 years.
I did.
So right now, I'm gonna need a minute. You go ahead, Daniel. I'm gonna need a minute.
So listen, this is just, I'm trying to cut it off before it became a thing because I knew it was going to come up on this podcast at some point. We told John he couldn't ever go watch Georgia play Alabama again. Then he showed up. So I'm glad that Michael had not made the connection. I knew Daniel had, which is why I went ahead and just brought it out there before we got any further and it became any kind of sabotage in the conversation. It's my fault. I take responsibility. I will never watch Georgia play Alabama ever again. I don't care if it's the 2032 World College Football Championship in Dublin or wherever college football is going. Because something's going to happen like that.
Expansion. You talk about these people that hate the playoff expansion. Just imagine.
Just imagine. All right, now that we got that out of the way.
No, seriously, one last comment on that. I'm a big no fall wedding guy, which I know both of you idiots did fall weddings, but you make your choices in life. I got married in March because I'm not a casual, as some programs say. But I'm a big no fall wedding guy. But I'm going to start looking ahead every year to when's the Georgia-Alabama game, what weekend, and then I'm going to wedding crash that weekend. Just anything. This is my phone. I don't know if you can see the big green line. That's from when Talon Taylor dropped that pass, and I sent my phone flying across the room. So I need to emotionally disengage for that weekend going forward.
Well, we won't get into this any further, but let me just say, I got married on a Friday night. Thank you very much. Oh. So, because I am going to bring it up later because it absolutely has to do with Georgia versus Auburn, which is the topic of today, and I'll get us back on topic. Georgia versus Auburn. That has something to do with my wedding. I will bring that up eventually. But before we dive into Georgia versus Auburn, through 5 games, guys, it's gut check time. How are you feeling about the Georgia football team through 5 games of the season?
I'm just going to say cautiously optimistic. That's kind of still where I am. You hear it every week. We got a lot to prove. We got a lot to work on. Kirby is a master at coach speak. But I feel like this Auburn game is, you don't want to overblow it, but it feels like a get right game. I mean, Kentucky, you could have said Kentucky, but Kentucky's just off. I don't, maybe a couple of years ago, they gave us some fits, but I feel like this Auburn game is a game where you got to make a statement. I mean, you just do. That's just where I am. So I feel good about it, but whew, it could pump the brakes anytime.
Yeah, I didn't think 5 games into the season I would be saying I feel good about the offense and I have some concerns about the defense. Not on my bingo card for this year. That's where I'm at, though. I do feel good that we're 5 full games into the season and we've only had 1 overtime. So that, light years, I feel like, ahead of last year.
Guys, not only have we only had 1 overtime, Georgia had their first lead in almost a calendar year at halftime versus Kentucky. The last time they had a lead was October 19th of 2024 versus Texas.
Yep.
Had a lead. So, at the end of the day, I think cautiously optimistic is a good way to put it. I think there's still a lot to learn about this Georgia team, which we will talk about as we go through this conversation. Before we do that real quick, speaking of things to learn about this team, what's missing from this team? And specifically, I'm going to ask this question. If you could bring back one player in their prime from any Georgia team to help this year's team, who are you bringing back?
For me, it's Jalen Carter. Maybe that's too low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
So if you want to, that's so obvious, right? He's one of the best football players Georgia has ever had. But what's missing from this team is somebody on that defensive line that no matter who's stacked up across the ball from them, they can push through and get pressure on the quarterback and wreak havoc in the backfield. Just not seeing enough of it. So Jalen Carter, I've got a backup if I need to use it, but that's my guy.
I too was going to go the most recent memory and say a guy like Brock Bowers, who is just an animal. Anywhere you line him up, on the line of scrimmage, off the line of scrimmage, on the end or spread out. But thinking about specifically the Auburn game, I went back to a guy named Trey Battle, who absolutely annihilated Auburn back in 2005 or 6.
It wasn't 5.
No, it wasn't 5. I remember 5. I don't want to talk about 5.
Me and Dana were at the game in 2005, so we know it wasn't 2005.
We were there. See you in Atlanta is what I remember about 2005. Walking out of Sanford Stadium after getting beat by 1 point because we literally ran out of time. Anyway, but Trey Battle had 3 picks on a day. Auburn was basically cruising to the national championship game, and we waxed them. And Trey Battle was the dude that day. And I think it's totally relevant because our secondary needs a dude or 2. I'll take 2 Trey Battles if we can get 2, but 1 would make me happy.
Yeah, I love that. I'm going to go similar to what Michael was saying, but I'm going to go a little bit further back. Give me 3-time All-American David Pollock. I think this Georgia team needs somebody who can line up outside, can line up inside, somebody who can get pressure on the quarterback from different positions. And David Pollock, I feel like, is a guy in his prime. If I could bring him back, I feel like he could wreak some havoc on this Auburn team. And really,
David Havoc is just
David Havoc. So we're gonna call him Davey Havoc. I'll call him Davey.
You won't call him that to his face, though.
I will not call him that to his face. All right. Listen. So speaking of players, so if we could bring one back, that's kind of what we would do. Which players have impressed you this year on this Georgia team? Who's embodied kind of that dog DNA that Kirby talks about, those DNA traits?
Go for it, Dana.
For me, it may seem like too obvious, but Chauncey Bowens is that dude that I freaking love. We come into the season is Nate Frazier's stable. He's the lead horse. But he's got some issues he's got to work out. And Chauncey, dude, has come in, and I mean, the dude is a freight train. I mean, ground and pound. He can do it. He can literally do it all. I mean, I love the way he plays. I love the way. I mean, he reminds me of that DeAndre Swift kind of dude, where he's not afraid to run between the tackles. But you know what? He can sidestep you and beat you to the edge, and he's gone. So he can beat you any way he wants to.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm going to say number 86, Dylan Bell, because Dylan Bell came in, I think, a little slow this year, and maybe for me with a little bit lower expectations. And I kind of feel like, we're in a rhythm, whether you like it or not, at Georgia. We've been playing from behind a little bit, right? We got a habit of like coming on strong in the second half of the game, second half of the season. Well, I feel like it took a couple of games in, and then Dylan Bell just showed up. And not just showed up, that catch he made against Kentucky, where the guy's literally holding his right arm back and he just pulls it in one-handed. Like, that to me is everything about the scrappiness of this team. And like, when it matters, you hunker down, you get it done, you fight for the ball. So Dylan Bell, and then for him to get 2 tuds in that last game, I was like, let's go, run downhill, buddy.
Yeah, huge. And that's what Georgia needs, right? Georgia needs leadership. Georgia needs experienced guys to act like they're experienced. And I think both of those are really good picks. I'm going to say Gunner Stockton. And I know that might be a little bit of a cop-out, but this is a kid who came in, people made fun of him, like he's a 40-year-old car salesman at SEC Media Days, like all the stuff that they railed on this kid. And he has not been, he wasn't the reason Georgia lost to Alabama. He was, the reason that Georgia beat Tennessee. He's a guy who's making good decisions. He's a guy who is keeping this team on schedule. And, the challenges have been versus Alabama specifically. I mean, you get in the red zone and there's some challenges there, but otherwise, I mean, this is a guy who he's doing everything that the team has asked him, that the coaching staff has asked him to do. And that could easily not be the case for Gunner Stockton, especially with all the, doubt, criticism, et cetera, and continued doubt to a certain extent from some folks in the Georgia fan base. But I think Gunner Stockton, I mean, if you want to see who embodies the Georgia DNA traits right now for this football team, I mean, it's that guy. And people don't talk enough about his leadership that he's providing for this team. I think people talk a lot about, his like execution of plays and his reads and all these things, but the leadership he's providing is tremendous. So I'm gonna go Gunner Stockton.
Again, I will just say, I just want to maybe interject here for just a second. Because I can get my feelings and lick my wounds as good as any dog out there.
Yep.
Back a couple weeks ago when we lost Alabama, I mean, it was for a few days, it was rough, and I mulled it over and over reading Twitter. But I don't think people realize Georgia still has depth enough, and we're still in a good position where if you can't play, you're not going to play. Now I know dudes have made mistakes. I'm not saying we've got the best defense out there like we did a few years ago, but I'm saying Kirby has said repeatedly how these dudes perform in practice determines how much they play on Saturday. So if you see a dude out there, I mean, we're not at the point where we're just having to throw dudes out there. I mean, some dudes are getting reps, where they can and when it's beneficial for the team. But, just pump the brakes on some of these. I mean, guys, let's be honest. There's people that are wanting Kirby Smart to go somewhere. Is that where we are? Is that I've read it. I can pull receipts. I won't. But it's just crazy, guys. Come on now.
Well,
Daniel refuses to talk about Taylor Swift on this podcast, as he said, but he will talk about lunatics on Twitter that want Kirby Smart fired. Come on, don't give him any press. But Gunner Stockton, let me just chime in and say 4th and 6 against Tennessee. That shot to Talon Taylor, even though Talon dropped it, what a dime. I mean, right on the money. Just unbelievable. That pass to Dylan Bell, even though Dylan had to make a phenomenal catch. I mean, it was in the one spot that Dylan could pull it in. We know Gunner can run, but watching his arm talent, watching his accuracy with some of those throws has just been a revelation. So yeah, I'm with you, John.
Love it. All right, let's get into Georgia-Auburn. When you think Georgia-Auburn, so this is the Deep South's oldest rivalry. Played 129 times. Georgia leads the series all time 65 to 56 and whatever ties, 8 ties. Georgia has won 8 in a row and 17 of the last 20. And so if you do the math, Georgia has really just recently kind of overtaken the lead in this series. It has been pretty even over the 129 years up until the last, until Mark Richt and Kirby Smart came on the scene. But when you think of Georgia-Auburn, what do you think of this rivalry, and where does it fit? Where does it rank on your want to win list of rivalries? Let me rephrase that question. Georgia has won this game a lot. And I think sometimes, like Georgia Tech, for example, people say, well, is it really a rivalry? Well, let Georgia mess around and lose the game, and you'll find out it's a rivalry, right? And so where does this rank on your list of want to win rivalries? And when I think about that, it's like Florida, Tech, maybe Tennessee in there. Where do you put Auburn?
I put Auburn firmly third because of this 2 decades of my kind of prime Georgia fandom. Georgia's just dominated. To your point, lose a game, you find out that it's a rivalry. But I'm going to rank it by different criteria, not necessarily by the historical record, but by the obnoxiousness of the fan base. So Florida
record, that's the best way to rank rivals.
Yeah. Yes. Florida far and away number one. Well, not far and away. Florida's number one. Tennessee has really given them a run for their money in the past couple of years. I hate to say I'd almost rather see us beat Tennessee than Florida, but those two are up there. I'd say Auburn's a firm third, and then Tech. Although Tech could climb up the list, based on last year, if you
mess around and let Georgia lose to Tech, and then that's when you find
exactly.
The techies.
I'll tell you what.
For you.
When it was 28 degrees in Sanford Stadium, and we were in overtime number 6, Tech was the biggest rivalry in the history of college football. I mean, it was bigger. That game was bigger than any Iron
I know, because I was getting the text messages.
No, you sit in that stadium when it's 28 degrees and you're in overtime number 5 or 6 with Georgia Tech, and you find out how big that rivalry is.
I believe the text messages included "send help, we're not going to make it." Some of those SOS.
Dude, yes. Daniel, where do you put it?
I'm kind of like Michael, although I've got Tennessee at 1, I've got Florida at 2, and then I've got Auburn at 3, and Tech below that. The only reason being is now that there's no divisions in the conference, and it's only been a couple of years, but those Eastern Division matchups were just, they're just ingrained in you that you want to beat these dudes. And I know Auburn goes back a long way, and I know we're talking about historical whatever, but so Auburn sits at number 3 for me. I hate Tennessee. I just hate, I don't know. Like, it's just that the orange from Tennessee and Florida is just a little bit different than Auburn. Auburn's not as flamboyant with their orange as the other. So it's maybe a little bit more tolerable, but
yeah.
I want to say 2 names though that can hopefully get you to flip those top 2. Steve Spurrier, Urban Meyer.
I know.
I want to watch Florida lose every game for the rest of time. That's because of those.
Philip Fulmer.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to say Florida. I'll say this. Florida, to me, it's Florida and then Auburn, but for personal reasons. As I mentioned, I got married on a Friday night. I married into an Auburn family, a family that had Auburn season tickets going back generations. My wife's great granddad used to sit outside the bookstore at Auburn and hawk tickets. Um, and I married into an Auburn family. 2006, the year that I got married on a Friday night, went to a cabin in North Georgia, and on Saturday, I sat there and ate wedding cake of 7 different wedding cakes that we had at our wedding.
Elite.
Uh,
Make a
I
note.
I ate wedding cake and watched unranked Georgia beat the brakes off of number 5 Auburn 37-15. And that came a year after Daniel and I sat in Sanford Stadium and watched Georgia lose 31-30 to Auburn on a last second field goal. Where Georgia, it was kind of the opposite. I mean, Auburn was number 15, but Georgia was a top 10 team and on their way to an SEC championship. Auburn beat us. We sat there and listened to them, do their whatever their chants are, and we walked out of the stadium and to multiple fights. People just fisticuffs, brawling. One guy yelling, "You ain't going to Atlanta! You ain't going to Atlanta!" And so that for me kind of moves Auburn up a little bit on the list. All right. Georgia Auburn. Let's get into the actual game. Guys, Auburn is a tricky one to figure out, right? Auburn has a pretty good defense under DJ Durkin. This is a team that has, I know Texas A&M squandered some points in the red zone, but they held a Texas A&M team that looks pretty good to 16 points. Oklahoma, with John Mateer and offense, it looks pretty good. Auburn kind of held them in check for most of the game. And on the other side of the ball, Auburn has skill players everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Auburn probably in the SEC, Auburn has a top 3, maybe the best wide receiver room, depending on how you rank it. I mean, Cam Coleman, the Singleton kid. I mean, Auburn's got some guys that can absolutely play, but they are coached by Hugh Freeze, and Hugh Freeze has been very unable to put this together. This year, it is mostly due to that atrocious offensive line that is. Jackson Arnold went to Oklahoma. He played at Oklahoma last year. Oklahoma led the country in sacks allowed. Jackson Arnold transfers to Auburn, and everybody's like, "Oh, Oklahoma, that terrible offensive line. Jackson Arnold's going to be a different quarterback." He goes to Oklahoma, and Oklahoma sets an all-time record for number of sacks in a game. All time. Oklahoma's been playing football a long time, guys. And they set an all-time record, 10 sacks in that game versus Jackson Arnold. So I don't know if it's Jackson Arnold or the offensive line. There is a common denominator. But this team has not been able to put it together under Hugh Freeze, which scares the hell out of me.
Is there any other quarterback that owns the sacks record on both sides of the ball?
I mean, right? I mean, he literally, yes. This man, yeah, absolutely led Oklahoma to probably their worst sacks allowed season in history, and then let Oklahoma's defense set a record for most number of sacks. But all that being said, Georgia's going to Auburn, going to Jordan-Hare on a night where they're going to retire Cam Newton's jersey and all these things. Is Auburn voodoo at play here? Like, what? How are we feeling about this? Because all of it lines up to Georgia this should be, like Daniel said, this should be a little bit of I think Kentucky was a get right game. I think Auburn is the prove it that you can do it on the road, that you're in the right mental space. Yeah, that you're, this is kind of could be a momentum building game for this Georgia football team. Very much. But it also scares me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What are your takes?
You ever fight a tiger in a haunted Indian burial ground while it's in desperation mode. Like that's what I feel like walking into this game. Like I don't know, we got this cat backed into a corner,
Yep.
and you're right. There's all kinds of voodoo. That makes me nervous because to your point, I mean, Hugh Freeze has lots of parts sitting around the shop, and he just hasn't been able to put it together. But at some point, it's going to click. It might only click for one game, and I hope to God it's not this game. But if everything clicks for them, history says it would be in the Georgia game. But yeah, because we're playing at Jordan Hare, and because it's just that kind of spooky, hard to predict, and honestly, because I think the things that Georgia has struggled with are the things that have really upset Auburn this year. To your point about Jackson Arnold, like, yeah, Oklahoma sets a sack record against him, but Georgia has the lowest, I don't know if this is true, but the lowest number of sacks on the season, at this point in the season, as far as I can remember. Like, and sacks are not the main but pressures. We're just not getting through that.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Sacks I think sacks, like the other guys say, are overrated. But when you watch the games, like we're not getting as much pressure as we're accustomed to seeing.
Right.
No, Georgia's one of the lowest in the power four in pressure rate.
When you see a dude like Ty Simpson sit back there and smoke his cigar while he's going to pick out his next target, like that's a little uneasy feeling when we've had the Jalen Carters and the Jordan Davises and the Michael Williams, those dudes, Jalen Walker, all those guys that can just wreak havoc. And honestly, for me, like that's where it's got to be, because our secondary, I played in the secondary in high school, so I understand that position pretty well. But we just don't we've got to beat these dudes up front. I mean, you got to hit them early. You got to hit them often. That dude, who's their running back? Jeremiah Cobb. I mean, that dude can run the ball. Yep. That dude's he's a pretty decent rusher. I think he's it's not going to sound like much, but I mean, he's got over 400 yards. I mean, he's got 5 touchdowns.
Yep.
Chauncey Bowens is close to that, but
yep.
I mean, we gotta, it's just frustrating when you have trouble stopping both of them, like we did a couple weeks ago. When they can pass at will, they can run at will. We've got to be able to stop at least one of those, and I would love to see us stop the run, where those dudes on the back end we can stop it early. If we can disrupt the quarterback, those dudes can maybe get in a rhythm, maybe figure some things out. Because I feel like some people have brought it out over the last couple of weeks that we kind of look like we're reeling a little bit sometimes from the sideline calls. And I'm not like throwing coaches under the bus, but like just look a little confused, look a little out of alignment, out of place. I just want to see now Kentucky a little bit different. Third down was great, much improved, and hopefully that continues. But man, just for a team that they got a lot of offensive wideouts, or a lot of offensive weapons in the wideout room. I feel like we gotta. I don't feel comfortable saying we have to shut those dudes down, because I just don't think at this point we can do that with the secondary we got. But if we can make them one dimensional, then we can outplay them, I think.
Yeah. And I think that's right. I think Georgia, the biggest thing with Auburn, right, is that what teams have done to them is they have limited the explosive plays. And so if you can prevent Cam Coleman and that Singleton kid and from catching those explosive deep shots, and if you can prevent Jeremiah Cobb from hitting the home run on you, I think you're probably in pretty good shape. So I think that's the key for Georgia. I think on the defense side of the ball and offense side of the ball, I think it's just it sounds cliche, but you got to start fast. You cannot go into that stadium at night with that crowd and everything. That's going to be the whole pageantry that's going to be around all the Cam Newton stuff and all that stuff. You can't go in there at night and get behind and have your defense on the field playing behind. So I think that's going to be the keys. for that. Who gets their first sack of the season Saturday night? This is a great opportunity. It's a question from Bubby Dean on Twitter. Shout out Bubby. Who gets their first sack of the season? And I'll tell you real quick the guys who had sacks for Georgia, because there have not been many. But Chris Cole, CJ Allen, Ogboko, and Raylan Wilson are the four guys who have a sack.
End of list.
And Chris Cole has 3 of the 7.
Yeah.
Who gets?
For me, I hope it's Kristen Miller. And I'll tell you why. There's we've got some decent linebackers that have not gotten sacks, but for me, just anybody on the defensive line, records a sack. That's a good sign, because hopefully that means we're getting pressure with 4. We're not having to blitz. We're not having to pull a linebacker in to get to the quarterback. Somebody's just getting through that offensive line and putting some pressure on Jackson Arnold. So I'd love it. Kristen Miller would be my call.
I had him as well on my short list. I would love to see an Eric Stokes type corner blitz and just blow the thing up, because that just that wets my whistle. But Gabe Harris, dude, I want to see Gabe do something. I like that kid. Quintavious Johnson was another dude. This guy, they come in with a lot of fanfare, and I'm not saying they're not doing anything, but yeah.
Bubby asked who gets their first sack of the season Saturday night. Daniel lists the entire defense.
Hey, I'm with Daniel. I'll take all.
Bring them all. You ever play Madden? And you just blitz everybody? Blitz them. Let them go.
I hope 7 Georgia players get their first sack on the season.
I hope 7 players have to split a sack on the stat sheet. That's what I want. I want 7 players back there blowing up a helmet, and the stat dudes are over there trying to figure out divide these fractions, what fraction of a sack these dudes are going to get. That's what I want.
Incredible. Yeah, I think my pick was going to be Gabe Harris. I think Gabe Harris is due for a sack on Saturday night. All right. We do have a few listener questions that we're going to hit here at the end before we get out of here. Will Chauncey Bowens eclipse 100 yards rushing in Jordan-Hare on Saturday night? That's a question from Ethan Smith. Shout out Ethan on Twitter.
Yes.
I'm going to say no.
Ooh.
I say no. I say no because it's just one of those situations where I feel like we're gonna spread the ball out. And I know we love Chauncey, but dude, you got other dudes back there that can spell him, and he's not. I mean, he's probably gonna get the bulk of the carries, but I don't know. I don't see him getting over 100. I wish he would. That's not a wish. That's just
yeah. I think there's one thing that's been definitive about this Georgia offense this year, and that is, by God, we're going to run the ball.
We are.
And I think you go into Jordan-Hare, we've seen enough voodoo magic. Kirby's not an idiot. He remembers all the history. I think what will happen is we try to start fast, we try to get some points on the board, and then it's a 3-quarter death march if Kirby can do it. It is just run the ball down their throats. Don't put the ball in the air after we've got a certain lead, and just try to keep the game under control and keep the crowd out of it. And I think the way you do that is the only way Chauncey Bowens doesn't get 100 yards is, to your point, if there's 2 80-yard performances or 3 70-yard, 60-yard performances. Like, maybe we spread the ball around, but I think we're going to find the hot back and just run him down their throat.
Yeah, Auburn's a top 20 defense against the run this year, allowing 88 yards a game. They're allowing 88 yards a game, and their last game versus Texas A&M rushed for 207 yards on Auburn. Yeah. So that's how good they were until Texas A&M kind of exposed, whatever.
But I think Texas A&M, they I haven't looked at that box score, but Texas A&M can beat you other ways too, so they had to respect that. I mean, they got some wideouts that can play. I mean, they've got other means of beating you, and we do too, and that's why I just feel like
Yep. All right, our guy Rude Tigger asks, who has the advantage, elite red zone defense versus elite red zone offense?
I'm just going to go ahead and speak for all these Georgia fans watching it that are yelling at the screen if they're tuning in. they're going to beg for an elite red zone offense because anytime we get in the red zone, you would think that we just absolutely forget to play offense, but I think defensively, I'm a defensive dude, so I appreciate an elite red zone defense. Make them kick field goals, and don't let them in the end zone. That's just me. I would take that over an elite red zone offense because honestly, that's kind of what I'm used to.
Well, I think how do you interpret the question? Because I think conventional wisdom would tell you in the red zone the defense has the advantage because it's a shorter field and you got more players compacted in there. But I would say if your team has an elite red zone offense, you have the advantage. Right? If you can work on a short field, if you can get guys open, that's the team that's going to walk away with more wins. I
would say in modern college football, I do think elite red zone offense will beat elite red zone defense. I think that has inherently has the advantage. But it's hard, man. When that field shrinks, it's really hard. If you have athletes on the defensive side of the ball, it is really hard to score. Or if you have, true freshmen on the right side of the offensive line,
if you have dudes on that defense that are, which is kind of a calling card of an elite red zone defense, but you got dudes who are disciplined and know their assignment. And that's the beauty of a red zone offense is we line up 4 guys on one side and you have no idea where they're going. And now you got to worry about spacing. You got to worry about switching. You got to worry about, you may know what that guy's going to run, but the way they design those plays, you've got to allow for that too, because if you get your feet get tangled up, you get tripped up, dude's wide open. That's it.
Yep. So. A couple more, one more that's specifically Georgia-Auburn related, and then we have a couple of fun ones from our listeners. So UGA Hoops Shinobu, shout out Shinobu, asks, why does Auburn have multiple mascots? All right. First of all, let me ask all this. Which mascot of Auburn is the most confusing to you? Is it the Plainsmen? Is it the War Eagles? Is it the Tigers?
It's the Eagle for me. I feel like I can explain the other two. I think.
Yeah.
War Eagle. I know there's a story.
So
I don't care enough to learn the story.
I'm going to give you the story. First of all, Auburn fans will tell you that they do not have 3 mascots.
Yeah, they will.
You have 3 mascots. You probably have more than that. You have 3 that we know about. You have 3 that you claim. The toilet paper could be a mascot.
True. Tumor's Corner could be a mascot.
Yeah, we're at the place where yes, there. I would not be surprised if a toilet paper with arms is one day on the sponsoring Auburn football. But we'll start with War Eagle. So the War Eagle started as a chant. Okay, the story goes sometime in the 1890s. A guy brought a pet eagle to Auburn's first football game versus Georgia. 1892 is how the story supposedly goes, versus Georgia. And the eagle allegedly broke free and flew around the field while Auburn charged back to victory to win the game versus Georgia. So that's the kind of War Eagle story, is that somebody had a pet eagle, it got loose, Auburn ended up winning the football game while the Eagles flying around, and the War Eagle.
So whatever the 1890s version of Tiger King now is Auburn's
100%. 100%.
Okay. I get it. Yeah.
100%.
Joe Exotic of the 1890s.
Absolutely. This was a Civil War veteran, so it was Beauregard Exotic. Beauregard Exotic and his pet eagle Bocephus were out there just leading the charge.
There will be no disrespect of Hank Williams on this podcast.
Well, Bocephus was the next closest thing to Beauregard that came to my brain. I apologize. So by 1930, Auburn acquired its first confirmed live eagle, which was so By 1930, Auburn acquired its first confirmed live eagle, which they named War Eagle 2. Even though it was their first confirmed live eagle, they named it War Eagle 2 because the first one, which was not confirmed, was living in legend. Okay, Auburn, I'll be the Tiger. First of all, if you're calling your mascot Albie, come on. All right, but Albie the Tiger was born as a cartoon in 1959.
Cute. That's a cute name.
Very cute, very cute. And later evolved into a full costumed mascot. So Auburn, has been the Tigers. That was their mascot from the beginning. But Albie the Tiger, their costumed mascot, was born in 1959, and then the Plainsmen and also the War Eagle girls. Okay, we always talk about the Plainsmen, but apparently there are War Eagle girls as well. They serve as Auburn's official hosts and ambassadors at campus and athletic events. The girls' portion began in the mid 20th century, and Plainsmen were added later to balance the roles. So
okay. Auburn's version of the Texas A&M Yell Leaders. That's what you're telling me. Yeah. So Auburn has their own Yell Leaders. This is great.
The Plainsmen, we have it here. The Plainsmen are Auburn's version of the Texas A&M Yell Leaders. Case closed. Yep. Done. Easy. All right, couple more questions, and we will get out of here. These are not Georgia-Auburn related, and not even really football related, but I think they're fun. Daniel, I need you to answer this question, and don't think about it too long. What do you think of the new Taylor Swift album? This comes from Sarah Dugas on Twitter.
I know who it comes from. Thank you, Sarah. It's garbage. Garbage. Straight up. I love you, Tay-Tay. Come on home, baby. Come on home. Let those teardrops fall on my guitar. We'll talk it out. We'll figure it out. But you have, I don't know where you're going, but you have gone there. But there is forgiveness, okay? There is grace. There is mercy. There is forgiveness. We're not listening to that trash.
Taylor,
that's awful.
Well, streets are saying that Taylor's settled for Travis and her music has gone down the tube. That's what streets are saying. But I will tell you this. It's not my favorite Taylor Swift album. Not even close to my favorite Taylor Swift album. I'm not a Swiftie. But Elizabeth Taylor is a banger.
Oh, I was going to say the same thing. I did a cursory scan of the album, and the groove on Elizabeth Taylor was like, oh, okay. Whatever that first track was just noise to me. I was like, no, I can't do
people
this.
like that one. I don't even know the name of it.
Yeah.
Okay, before everybody officially tunes out of this podcast, if the three people who are still listening, our buddy Lounge Dog asks, who's the better cook? And I'm going to parlay this into a question from Evan Grimes. So Lounge Dog says, who's the better cook of the brothers? And Evan asks a great question that we will end on.
I love Evan's question.
You three have been tasked with making a meal for Kirby Smart and the whole coaching staff. One brother is on the appetizers, one on the main course, one for dessert. Who is doing what, and what will you be preparing? The way we answer this question will determine who's the better cook. Lounge Dog.
Wow.
I'm kidding. All right, who's taking appetizers?
I'm just going to jump in and say I'm taking desserts.
Okay, I'll take appetizers.
I knew you were going to take dessert.
Okay, I'm going to take appetizers. Okay, I'll take appetizers, and you know what I'm going to make? I'm going to make two different appetizers. The first one is I'm going to make wings, and these wings are going to be mole wings. They are going to be dry rubbed in my barbecue dry rub, and then they are going to be grilled. Okay, smoked and grilled. Then they are going to be the grate of the grills coming off, and we have a basket that we're going to put these wings in, and we're dropping them right into the coals. Okay, and it's going to get them really charred. Then these wings are going to be tossed in a mole sauce, and then they are going to be doused in just a little bit of Valentina. Best wings ever. mole wings. And also for appetizers, I am gonna make one of my favorite things to eat recently: jalapeno kolaches. Jalapeno sausage kolaches. So jalapeno sausage kolaches, just a little dough wrapped around a jalapeno sausage. That's what I'm making for appetizers.
There's a coffee shop 20 minutes from my house that specializes in kolaches, and
So good.
they have. I'll go and get a spicy sausage and cheddar, and then a Nutella, and that's lunch and dessert. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Or
All right,
maybe
Michael.
say breakfast and dessert. That's breakfast and dessert. So I guess I get main course.
Yep. What you got?
Man, well, we kind of should have talked about this, because if you're going mole wings, like, that's a lot going on.
It's okay. This is appetizers. Not everybody's going to eat them. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be cohesive. We're doing it.
There's only one meal for this coaching staff. What does a dog want? A dog wants a bone, and I'm going to make sure that bone is attached to a ribeye, and we're going to do tomahawk ribeyes. We're going to dry age them for about 27 days. And then we're going to season those, just salt and pepper, maybe a tiny little bit of garlic powder, right? And then we are going to throw them on a hot grill. And then maybe just for good measure, I'm going to do a skillet of butter, and we're going to baste them right at the end. Maybe a little fresh garlic, and then serve them up. Oh, it's going to be money.
Well, there's a missed opportunity there. I'm going to back up and I'm going to help you. Okay. Because we're going to dry age these steaks for 33 days. And then we were going to cook them at 1800 degrees.
1800 degrees.
33-day dry aged ribeyes cooked at 1800 degrees.
Done.
For this coaching staff.
Yes, sir.
All right, Daniel.
All right, we got to balance out all this meat with some sweets, baby. I don't have a sweet tooth. All my teeth are sweet. So, but you can't be too sweet, because if you're too sweet, you kind of lose that edge a little bit. So my favorite thing to do is obviously a cheesecake, but we're going to hit them with the pineapple upside down cheesecake. Where it is the right amount of sweet, but it is the right amount of just smooth, creamy, got a little bite to it with that spiced rum and the walnuts and the pineapple cherry. Call me, Kirby. Call me. Make it happen. You tell me how many dudes you got. We'll make it work. This is our pitch.
I love it. Well, this has been fantastic. Georgia's about to beat the brakes off Auburn. We are going to eat all these things at some point together. Maybe for Ole Miss. Maybe the brothers will be back. Maybe there'll be a live recording all together for Ole Miss. Who knows? Like, subscribe. Appreciate your support of the show. If you haven't joined the Bulldog Bourbon Social Club, go do that. DawgSocialClub.com. You can join for free, and we will be back next time. And I'll tell you right now, we didn't answer Lounge Dog's question on who's the better cook of the brothers. The answer is me. Have a great
question. No.